Wanted to thank you guys for your likes and comments on these videos. It's such a big difference on videos that have decent amount of engagement there. So I appreciate you guys liking these videos and let me know in the comments your thoughts. It's engaging and I appreciate it. I'm reading a book right now. I'm listening to a book rather on Audible called The Sovereign Individual. Now, it was written in 1999. Peter Thiel's a co-author. And they nail so many things that are happening in culture right now, 22 years later. And the summary of this book is, as microprocessing becomes stronger and stronger, think the power of an iPhone versus a space shuttle in the 60s, right? As microprocessing becomes more and more powerful, individuals will be able to, one, bank on their own phones. This is a pretty wild concept, being that they wrote this 8 years before the iPhone ever was released. Pretty incredible concept that they nail this. But they're basically like, the individual is about to become individually sovereign. He's about to be able to move and incorporate in the digital realm anywhere in the world that the laws are better than where he currently resides. And yes, nation states can do whatever they want to their citizens for the most part, because there is no bigger mass murderer on the entire planet than the nation state. That's a fact. They've killed hundreds of millions of people and will continue to do so until they inevitably die. This book basically says the death of the nation state is happening before our eyes. And it cites mainly that they'll be unable to tax moving forward because individuals are going to move to private currencies, aka private cryptos. Written in 1999. I think it's fascinating. It's a good book, and I'll link to it below. But I find it very interesting because we're moving in this period of time where being independent in whatever facet that you can. You guys have watched my videos. You guys know I've got like the food forest going on. We've got our own well. You know, we decided a few years ago to move towards becoming off-grid, but mainly just to become more sovereign in ourselves. Like, you know, is the grocery store open or closed today? Whatever. Like, and not that we'll be able to 100%, you know, subsist on what we grow and maintain, at least in the short run. Long run, it gets easier and easier. I've noticed this as I've been going with it. But this is happening at scale everywhere in every facet of the economy. And if you're not partaking in this, or at least thinking through this, and you're probably going to miss a lot of the upside swing as this transition happens. I go back and forth with a group of buddies, like, how is this going to play out? And basically we have no conclusions. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments how you see this playing out. But basically, you know, private currencies is something when people try to do that, we have gone to war over. All right, the nation state will protect their currency at all costs, no matter how many bodies drop on either side of the coin. They do not care. Most wars are about money. And I find it interesting because the microprocessor, as these co-authors reveal, actually makes it gives a very, very diminishing return to violence, which is typically the normal state of affairs for the nation state. Also, the nation state at this point in time, everywhere, is abusing their citizens in a way that they have never done before, and they're abusing their own currencies by printing them worthless in a way that they've never done before. I mean, we're seeing, like, in 2008, we saw $700, $800 billion, and people were like, whoa, that's a lot. $3 trillion is a warm-up round these days per quarter. I mean, $3 trillion every 90 days, 100 days is nothing. And so this is happening and accelerating rapidly. And so during this period of time, and we talk a lot about investing here, and on my Instagram channel, we talk a lot about investing, like, a lot. The only thing I can find right now that, like, makes sense, being that the future is more unpredictable than it's ever been, for the most part, is just investment in the currencies, like silver, gold, cryptos. Like, the idea of buying equities and, you know, as they print, they keep pumping the equities up. Like, the idea that that's what you should be doing is unbelievably risky, in my opinion. And also, like, none of these companies make any money. Like, you can cruise through the Dow or the S&P 500 and look at their balance sheets and look at all of their numbers because it's public, and you're like, these companies are making no money. Like, for example, Uber, you would think they make a lot of money. No, they lost $5 billion in a quarter. Like, how do they even spend $5 billion? Like, how's that even possible? I have no idea. Airbnb, like, you would think they're making a ton of money. No, they're losing money too. It's like, how is that even possible? And so it just further, in my mind, lays out the case that we're seeing the death of the fiat currency system. And that's pretty gnarly, because when it really fails, what are these governments gonna do? I think the number one threat to the American public and the worldwide public in general is their own governments. I really, really believe this. I mean, that's pretty much always been true throughout all of history, but I think it's just super evident now. But we're at this spot where the average Joe is starting to wake up to this, and we're gonna have to renegotiate terms here at some point in time. Like, you can't just lock people in their houses for a flu and, you know, then tell them, oh, well, the next round of flu is gonna be even worse. And then, oh, you're gonna need to do this. You're gonna need to wear your masks unless you do this. But even if you do this, maybe we'll make you wear your mask. You know, like the idea that these big, you know, WHO type of organizations exist at the consequence of possibly getting blocked here. So please join the email list, like and subscribe to these things. Help push me here in the algorithm just a little bit because they don't like this talk. They don't like that. But what are they gonna do long term? I mean, play this out. Play this out. Game theory suggests that where doing business is better, people will go do business. Well, if people can move their capital at the speed of light, aka crypto, and they don't need a third-party intermediary, what are they gonna do? If they want to attract capital to their jurisdiction, they're gonna have to be favorable in their laws, which means that we're gonna have to, at some point in time, whether it's now or 10 years from now or 20 years from now, after society has completely decayed and fallen apart, we're gonna have to renegotiate terms. And we're gonna have to basically say, hey, there's some crap right now in our current culture that just doesn't make sense. Like a non-financial thing, but is financial in many ways. When parents split up and the divorce rate is way over 50%, because, like, I mean, you can look at what happened in 1971. You come off the gold standard and you look at the divorce rate. It's really interesting to look at those graphs. But nonetheless, as the money has gotten faker and faker, and the family unit has fallen apart, quite literally, the laws haven't changed and adjusted to take into fact that men, by default, should have 50-50 custody of the children that the marriage or the relationship produced. In today's culture, most guys still get screwed when those events happen. That's not right. Now, women at the moment have a big push, me too, ... whatever, everybody's a victim. Victims are weak, number one. Nobody likes victims. They might pretend to like you on social media, but deep down they're thinking, what a freaking loser. What a weak little piece of crap. So, we need to renegotiate these terms. Things like that on all facets. I mean, you look at the financial markets. How is it possible that you can short more stock than stock that actually exists? How's that possible? Well, because hedge funds can. Okay. Like, is that it? Is anybody going to get arrested? How is it possible that someone like Elon Musk can pump and not dump? But how can they just get on social media and just pump and move assets around and no consequences? See, we're in a spot where maybe there's nothing they can do about that, but they need to readjust their terms and rules. Or the average individual, the sovereign individual, is going to skirt around them. And we see this already happening. I mean, at the end here, at the end game, everything gets tokenized. And so assets that are not normally accessible to, let's say, poor or middle class people, let's just talk about like commercial real estate, for example. Everybody loves commercial real estate. Who wouldn't love commercial real estate? You get the loan against it at 0% interest rates. And then whenever you want to get money or equity out, I mean, it will continue to appreciate as they print fake cash. And so whenever you want to get equity out, you just loan against it, and they can't tax debt, so it's debt free. So those that are wealthy continue to make money cash free or debt free, not debt free, tax free, and the wealth gap gets bigger and bigger. Meanwhile, the tax burden on the poor and middle class goes up and up and up. Well, in a world where you tokenize everything, you don't have to have 25 million bucks to do this hospital deal and driving by. You can have $5,000 to get you in the deal. And you don't need a third-party intermediary like a REIT, like a real estate investment trust, to get you in there. You don't have to be an accredited investor to partake in that deal. You can just buy the token. You can just buy the token, and the token can represent the real asset. Well, like that's skirting around Wall Street. That's skirting around the CDC. That's skirting around everything. I guess the bigger question in my mind is, how violent are they going to get? Or are they actually just going to do the right thing and be like, hey, we need to renegotiate terms. Technology has changed in a way where everything here needs to be renegotiated. negotiated. So let me know in the comments your thoughts, and I'll see you tomorrow.